Hey, what's up everyone? It's Retro Geek here bringing you a real quick state of play reaction video. We're just going to kind of go through these games real quick here, show a little bit of gameplay, and kind of just talk about what I think is going to, what I think about these games. So the first thing that was shown off at the state of play was, of course, the Resident Evil 4 remake for PlayStation 5. This wasn't that big of a deal, wasn't that big of a surprise that it was coming. And of course, they did also announce it for PlayStation VR 2 as well, which also, again, wasn't that big of a surprise, considering the fact that we already had Resident Evil 4, the original, come to Oculus, or I guess MetaQuest. So, not that big of a surprise there. And of course, that's going to come out March 24th of next year. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a pretty big hit. Especially because if it does anything like what Resident Evil 2 and 3 is, it's going to have all the great stuff from the first one, just improved and of course updated and all that. So I think that's going to be really good, really interesting. And it would be also, again, like something good to just experience on the PlayStation VR 2 if you haven't ever played Resident Evil 4 before. And of course, the something else that wasn't that big of a surprise was Resident Evil 8 Village coming to PlayStation VR 2 as well. They did show what it would look like in the PSVR 2, which of course you're seeing the gameplay here for it now. Now this of course wasn't a big surprise, at least not for me, and I don't think anybody else, just because of the fact that again, we had Resident Evil 7 on the original PlayStation VR, and with Resident Evil 4 being on Oculus and coming to PlayStation VR 2 and all that, it seems like Capcom really wants to support the whole first-person horror genre. And if it's anything like the original, or not the original, I guess 7 was for PlayStation VR, it's going to be an interesting ride to experience that game, and re-experience it if you have already played it. So, what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's going to be, a good old scary time? Also announced for PlayStation VR 2 is a sequel to a game that I hear is good, but I have personally not played just because I'm not into The Walking Dead. And I do apologize if there are Walking Dead fans out there that really enjoyed it. It looks good, it really does, but this is Saints and Sinners 2 for PlayStation VR 2, and like I said, it looks good. It looks like it's a really good time. I thought at first it was just gonna. I thought I was really interested in it just because it's like, oh hey, look, here's a first-person zombie shooter. Until I saw it was The Walking Dead. So that's just my opinion. Sorry if that interrupts anybody. I'm just done with The Walking Dead. I've been done for seasons now, so. And of course that's coming out in 2022, so probably going to be coming out around the same time as the PlayStation VR 2, probably a launch title for it. The next thing that they showed off is now coming up here on the screen. It is actually No Man's Sky for the PSVR 2. Now, while I let this play, I'm going to go ahead and throw my thoughts out here. There were a lot of people that were kind of upset at the showings for this, and I don't know what you were expecting when Sony basically came right out and said it's going to be third-party developers and PlayStation VR. So the people that were expecting like a Last of Us remake or announcement of God of War or whatever, they never said it was first-party studios. They said it was third-party, and they said that it was going to be PlayStation VR 2, which of course here it is, No Man's Sky for PlayStation VR 2. Then of course they went and they showed off the game that's probably going to get me to end up buying a PlayStation VR 2 is Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation VR 2, which I don't know if this is an interquel, like it takes place between 1 and 2, if it's a prequel, it's supposed to take place before. I don't know where it falls in the timeline, but it looks very good. I like the fact they showed off a lot of gameplay with it to kind of get you an idea of like, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what you can expect from it. And I just think it's going to be a really interesting game to play. So what are you guys' thoughts on Horizon Call of the Wild? Is it something that you're going to end up buying a PlayStation VR 2 for? Are you going to pass on it, or what? What's going on with that? And of course here it is. I had to skip towards the end of it. Here it is, Horizon Call of the Wild. I think they gave a rough date when it was coming out. I'm not 100% sure if they gave a date on when it's coming out. No, they did not. Okay. But what they did talk about, of course, was a new update that they had for Horizon Forbidden West, which I'm going to go back to now because I've already completed that game. I've already gotten all the trophies for it. So in my opinion, I'm done with it. But now they've added in New Game Plus. They've added in the ability to let me go ahead and get the actual announcement of what they said about it. Yeah, so it gives you New Game Plus, new weapons, and new trophies that are included with New Game Plus. So of course, that gives me something to go out to do. And of course, you can also respec your skills. So if you want, you can go through and just completely start over from scratch, move them around to different tiers. Or I don't know what you want to call them. You know, you have like the robot taking over ability, and you have the stealth and the dodging and all that. You get to redo those, and so that's something that I'm going to go back to and play Forbidden West again for. And of course, I think something that was also, I think, it's going to be a nice surprise with people is that the fan favorite games of Spider-Man are coming to PC. They showed off Spider-Man remastered for the PC, and I believe this also includes Spider-Man Miles Morales, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check that real quick, but that's what I believe it is. So yeah, Spider-Man coming to PC. And then, of course, a game that I'm looking forward to, because I remember when they showed us off with the initial PlayStation 5 reveal. And, of course, it's a little bit of a shame that we're basically 2 years, I think, into the PlayStation 5's life cycle, and this game is just now coming out. But it does look like it's a very fun game. This is the game, of course, known as Stray, where you get to play as a stray cat roaming around in what I guess is a post-apocalyptic future that has robots, because I have not seen any humans so far in this game, just robots. And it looks like it's a very fun game. This is right up my alley as far as gameplay goes. I'm probably going to end up getting this day one. And then what's interesting about it is that they actually said at the end of this trailer that this game is actually going to be included as part of the PlayStation Plus subscription, which is great. So if you get on the Essentials tier, unfortunately you don't get it, but if you get on the Extra or the Premium tier, it's included, which is just, I think, a really great move for Sony to do, because they did say that they weren't going to do their exclusive games, but they didn't say anything about, you know, third-party exclusives coming day one. So if this is an indication of them doing the same thing as Game Pass and bringing in games day and date as, you know, the original, then I'm all on board. Now, you know, they're probably not going to bring the big $70 big budget games like your God of Wars and your Horizons and all that stuff. But of course, it will be coming on July 19th, and here's of course where they're going to announce that you can get it included with Extra and Premium. So that's real cool that they're doing that, and hopefully that's something they continue to do down the line, that they continue to include these games as part of PlayStation Plus. Now then, this game, the next one that they showed off, is the big one for me, and I think it's going to be oh man, I mean, this game just took me back instantly to Dead Space, because of course it's from the same people that made the Dead Space game back in the day. This is I think they call it the Callisto Project, if I remember correctly. So it's very reminiscent of Dead Space. You know, it has a lot of the same vibes to it, a lot of the same feels to it. It's a really cool game. Really looking forward to it. And, you know, I think this is going to be the game that's probably going to take me back to horror, because I don't really care for horror too much. It's got to be done just right for a horror game for me to like it, because a lot of times they're just, you know, they're just too much. You know, but something like this, I think, as a third-person game, I think is really going to do it. But what do you guys think about the Callisto Project? Do you think it's going to be a big smash runaway hit because it's from the same people that made Dead Space, or do you think it's just not going to be enough? And yes, it's called the Callisto Protocol. My apologies, and it's actually coming out December of this year, so that's going to be very interesting. And also, what's down here at the bottom is something that's something that interests me. Something that was down there at the bottom that they showed off, and you're going to probably see it with a couple of trailers too. Is that we're still going to be getting PS4 games in 2023. Now, of course, I understand there's a shortage for that. That's probably the reason why, but I don't know. There's just a part of me that feels like that's kind of holding games back. Maybe it's not, but like, I feel like games could be better when they're built from the ground for PlayStation 5, but, you know, maybe they're not, because after all, games are getting more and more stream friendly to where you can just play them on the cloud. So yeah, I may be wrong on that. And the next game, what was this called again? I'm just going to probably skip past this. They showed off this game. I don't really care for it. I think it's called like Roller Dome or something like that. It's basically a like a shooting skating game. Um, Almost kind of like the Running Man, where it's like a death sport kind of game, but you're on skates. And I just don't care for it too much. I mean, it looks good. It looks like it's going to be good fun. Like it'd be the kind of game that I could imagine that if I was into it, I'd have a lot of fun online, or even probably playing with my kids. But just I'm sorry, there's just something about it that just stylistically doesn't mesh with me. Maybe it feels too much like what was that? Why am I drawing a blank on it? Anyways, it's not relevant. Just going ahead and skip past it here. Rollerdrome is coming out, PlayStation 4, August 16th. Not that big of a deal. And the next game that they are announcing here is actually something that I am interested in. Now, this will seem a bit weird, I'm sure, but I'm into the kind of like, I don't even know what you'd want to call them, but you know, like the nonary game kind of games where it's just like there's a mystery going on. I liked what is it? The internal file. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. And of course, I recently just played something like the World's End Club. So stuff like that is really interesting to me. The whole idea of like, and then this just looks really interesting. Like I understand it's more of like an action game, and it's got some dating elements in it, I believe, from the looks of it. But it looks like it's also got a choose your own path kind of thing, where based upon what you say and how you interact with people is going to determine the path that you take. But it looks like a really good game. This is probably going to be like Stray. It's probably going to be one of those games that I'm going to be keeping my eye on for when it comes out, and probably picking it up digital if not physical. But it's a very interesting game for me, at least. You guys are welcome to put your thoughts in the comments down below if it's something that you want to play. Enter Nights. Yeah, early 2023. Again, PlayStation 4 game, coming out 2023. But whatever. So moving on. The next thing that Sony showed off was Street Fighter 6. Now, I haven't been in the Street Fighter in a long time, but this actually does look very interesting. It's kind of more of an open world game. Like I get kind of the sense of like a Shenmue or a Yakuza series kind of game where there's fighting in it, and it is still a fighting game at heart, but you're gonna like roam around the city doing maybe other stuff, like maybe like it shows here with training, or doing, who knows, maybe karaoke, who knows what they do with it. But it looks like it's more of an open world kind of game, and yeah, that's also coming out. I don't really like what they did with Ryu. I think it's a little bit weird he's got a beard, but that's just me. So yeah, Street Fighter 6. Also again coming 2023, also on PlayStation 4. Then of course we had a couple of indie games that were announced coming over to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Tunic, a game that I've already started playing on my Xbox Series X. I do enjoy Tunic, believe it or not. If you're the kind of person that likes Dark Souls and Zelda, you can kind of see a little bit of the gameplay here, then it's the kind of game that you might enjoy. It's a very tough game. I actually have gotten stuck at a point to where I'm fighting a boss that I just continuously die at. So I haven't gone back to it in some time, but that's just me. It is still a fun game to play. It's very Zelda-like. It's very cryptic with its clues, which also kind of reminds me a little bit about how Fez played. So if that's your kind of thing, then yeah, I think that you'll enjoy this a lot. And then the next game that they showed off, which I believe they also showed this off, if I'm not mistaken, at either an E3 last year or when they showed off the PlayStation 5. This game is called Season, with Seasons, or something like that. And it looks kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of this one game that I was playing. I think it's Road 96, in which you're basically just like you're trying to get to one particular point, and along the way you meet people that you encounter and talk to. Yes. What? Why do we have this? This is for coffee, right? It's not for water.
Oh. I didn't look. Sorry.
And then, of course, as you can see here, the last thing that they showed off was Final Fantasy 16, which wasn't really that big of a surprise. I mean, Final Fantasy 16, I think, was also shown off last year, and was just, I mean, this looks really good, because, I mean, trust me, I have not played a Final Fantasy game in a long time. A long time. It hasn't been my cup of tea in a long time, mostly because of the fact that most of them start off really good. Like I played Final Fantasy 2 or 3 on, I think, the DS. I think it might have been 3. It was on the DS. It was a DS remake. It started off really good, but then it got to a point to where, spoilers if you haven't gotten that far into the game, but I think you found out that you're like in a cloud above the real world, and then like you go crashing down, and then the game just got really tedious. And that's one of my big problems. Like I enjoy RPGs, but I enjoy more action RPGs, and this is what it looks like it's become. Like this looks like it's become more of an action RPG where you control the titans that you summon, and you do, you know, button combinations. I like those a lot more because strategy is not my forte, and also just because like if I plan to have a person heal and then the first person dies or whatever, and I gotta change my whole strategy, it gets a little bit frustrating. But I like RPGs for the most part, but they just get kind of boring and monotonous. I felt this way with Final Fantasy, was it 10? Whatever it was that had the gambits in it, and it was like almost an automated battle. I think it was 10. It was one of the last ones that came out for the PlayStation 2. And then with the one with lightning in it, which I think was 12 or 13. I'm not 100% sure. Again, it just wasn't the... It started off neat and interesting, but then it just did the same thing it always does. It got boring. But this, what they showed off of 12, with all the action and stuff, it looked more like modern and realistic and stuff, and just like, this is how Final Fantasy in the modern world will play. And then you see stuff like this, and it's like, yeah, this looks like this would be interesting, at least for me. And of course, here's the logo, Final Fantasy 16, which I think is still coming out this year. I'm gonna have to watch it again at the end. I do apologize. I was taking notes while watching these initially, and so I didn't catch a lot of the dates that they were coming out. Oh, summer next year. My apologies. And yeah, there you have it. That was the state of play. And what I ultimately took away from this was the, you know, again, Stray. Really looking forward to that. The Internights. Looking forward to that. Callisto Protocol might be interesting. But I wasn't expecting there to be big reveals. I mean, just like what I'm going to talk about with my Nintendo predictions, probably in the next upcoming video, is I don't think that we're going to see nearly as many games as we think that we're going to see. Because just like with the Nintendo Direct, it's kind of the opposite. People think that we're going to see, this, that, the other. I think we're going to see a lot of Nintendo games. I don't think we're going to see a lot of third-party announcements because usually the third parties announce their own games. Sony did the opposite with this. People were expecting there to be, again, a God of War or, something else. It's like, they never said it was their stuff. They said it was PlayStation VR 2, which they showed off, and they also showed off some third-party content. Honestly, to me, it's one of the better state of plays that I've seen, because usually when I watch a state of play, I'm usually bored half the time. I'm just watching it just to see if there's anything else that gets announced, but there was actually some pleasant surprises in here. I would like, especially if it is coming out towards the end of the year, because we did see the Saints and Sinners 2 announced, I would like to hear more information at some point, hopefully within a month, about PlayStation VR 2, its pricing, and like when we can pre-order and all that stuff like that. But I expected that all that's going to come down the road. But I do apologize, it's taken over 20 minutes, guys. It was filled with gameplay, and I did want to give my comments on it as I was talking about it. And I do apologize for the fact that it was late, because I was initially going to do this with a guest. But just over the past couple of days, I guess they've gotten busy with work and all that stuff, to where it didn't happen this time. But maybe next time, maybe the Nintendo Direct, or maybe even the Xbox Bethesda announcement next week, we might get together then and sort of just watch these videos together and talk about them. And maybe that'll be over 30 minutes, who knows. But I do appreciate you guys watching for as long as you have. I appreciate all the support that I get. Again, this channel can't be what it is without the support that I get, even if it is very small. If you want to, you're welcome to leave a thumbs up on this video to show your love. You're also welcome to subscribe if you want, because I typically talk about Nintendo stuff, but I do also dabble every now and then into Xbox and Sony when I think that there's something interesting to talk about with them. And of course also Sega and Atari. I don't really, I don't really leave anybody out, but just as a Nintendo fan, I typically talk about Nintendo more. I typically get more excited about them. But enough rambling about that. I do appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have yourselves a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you probably Monday or Tuesday. I don't know when I'm going to get around to my next one, but I never make videos on weekends. I usually dedicate that to family time, and I will talk to you guys next week.